What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Midnight Manor at Fantastic Fest 2025. We've got another Collider interview for you about the movie Coyotes. I was lucky enough to get to chat with Justin and Kate earlier. I'm going to make sure all of you highlight what gems they are. But first, I'm going to congratulate all of you on Coyotes. Blast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So clearly I know what the movie is, but because of a lot of our audience is first going to learn about it through this interview, can I give you synopsis honors?
Oh gosh.
Take it away.
Well, I cut the trailer, so just watch that. You know, it's a family in the Hollywood Hills that's during a freak Santa Ana storm suffers an incident that keeps them trapped, and coyotes go crazy for a particular reason.
Just because I'm curious, and I find that cutting trailers is an art form that we don't really highlight enough. Do you like to do that on all of your movies?
I wish I didn't have to on this movie, but it kind of became a panic of like, we don't like the trailer. There was a great trailer that was cut, but it was cut to like this awesome song that was way expensive. And so it started to just fall apart from there. So then I jumped in and cut it.
Just curious, what were some priorities?
It is an art form. It is an art form. It's a bit.
Yeah, Colin pulled about 3 all-nighters, just, you know, went full nonstop, and
boom,
then there was the
out.
trailer. Yeah.
When you're cutting something like that, what are some priorities you have to sell the movie, to not spoil it, but also make sure like the trailer on its own feels like a piece that's enjoyable to watch?
Yeah, I think you definitely have a rhythm to it, and usually there's like 3 sections. You want to introduce the plot first, and so do that in a really punchy way, and then kind of segue into conflict and lead towards possibilities of a resolution, and do it in a really fun and exciting way that, you know, I was able to use a song that's heavily featured in the movie, so that's always nice to be able to like cohesively brand the movie to something that then the audience gets to also see on the big screen.
I'm also just remembering that you edited the feature, so it makes all the sense in the world.
So I knew the movie really well. I was like, we should use this part, this part, this part, this part.
Before we start digging into the details for my 3 actors here, I did want to pose this question to you because it's come up quite a bit throughout the festival, and I just love the thought because I love this genre. Can each of you name an early horror movie that you watched and a movie that maybe made you think to yourself, like, that's the coolest thing. I have to do something like that as an actor one day?
I think just because I'm an old Hollywood film nerd, one of the first horror movies I ever saw was Psycho. And to this day, later in life, I saw it in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery as well, which was the best way to watch Psycho, I think, is projected on the mausoleum. But it's so incredible what you can do by stimulating the audience's imagination and by not showing them things. And I've always remembered that in horror movies, and that kind of is part of what we did in the opening of Coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, I was always too scared to watch horror movies for many years until suddenly I met Colin, and then I started acting in many horror movies.
What was the breakthrough movie?
The breakthrough. I mean, the breakthrough movie, it was more just like being a part of them that made me less afraid, and then quite enjoy them. But I would say, like, you know, early impressions of horror movies would be like Jaws or Batman. I remember seeing those movies when I was too young, and like I couldn't swim in the lake for years afterwards. You know,
did you just say Batman? I wouldn't call that a horror movie.
It was a horror to me when I was
Which Batman?
When you're like 7.
Yeah.
Well, I
Which
always
Batman?
think of Batman Returns because I was like a teeny tiny child that shouldn't have been in the theater, and I think Danny DeVito biting the head off the fish was ingrained in my brain for a very long time after that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
How about for you?
For me, I would say I've always really liked the M. Night Shyamalan movies. They're the perfect mix of like creepy, but also like has a nice resolution to it with lots of twists. If I had to pick one, I would say The Sixth Sense was kind of it for me.
Sure.
I watched that with my friend, and I just remember I was like, that is so cool how they created this like reality in non-reality, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And I thought that was really cool. So
Good
that
examples.
one really inspired me.
Great movie.
For real. I'll throw one more broad horror question to all of you. I'll phrase it for the 3 of you. If you had the opportunity to join the horror film franchise of your choice, what franchise would you pick and what character might you play? And I'm curious if you had that opportunity, but for directing, what would you pick?
It's always dangerous to like reboot a beloved horror franchise because I think you just, you know, does it need to be rebooted? It's so good as it is. But if I wanted to, I don't know. Skip. I can't do it because I'm just like, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd get crucified. I'd never do as good as that one.
But this is a safe space.
Sure. Well, everything's just been, there's so many reboots all the time. I'm like, I don't want to say something that's been rebooted recently also. I was gonna reboot the movie Urban Legend at one point, but
That
it
was
fell
my
apart.
answer.
But it totally fell apart, and it was a really fun
Kat was
take.
gonna-
And Kat
That's
was
how
gonna do it.
that's how I met Colin.
Yeah, spoiler alert on the movie that
Spoiler
you'll never
alert.
see, but she was gonna be
Colin
the baddie.
cast me in the role of a lifetime as
Yeah,
a
and then
serial
COVID
killer.
killed our movie. So.
Yeah, but I, being someone who isn't often cast as a serial killer and doesn't often get a chance to do those kind of psychologically messed up and interesting characters, and the way it was written was so beautifully broken and
Thank you.
humanized.
I will never forget this. I always call Collider interviews manifestation spaces. I understand it didn't pan out.
Let's do it.
Like, who's to say it can't circle back
You
and
never know.
eventually
You never
take
know.
off?
It was weird.
It can
I like
resurrect.
that idea, though.
I mean, I would love it.
How about for I guess that's kind of your answer.
That was going to be my answer.
I'll take it. I'll take
The
it.
team.
Okay.
I don't know. Do you,
You
have
know
a good
what?
answer?
I actually kind of agree with that. I watched Urban Legends and I like that one.
That's funny.
Come on down. Come on down.
It's a classic. I could watch a movie over and over. To your movie specifically now, I pulled one quote from your director's statement that I loved. You mentioned that you loved the script because it had bite and it had chaos, but then you go on to heavily emphasize, most importantly, it had fun.
Yeah.
Why is having scares but with fun important to you?
Well, I think horror can often, especially currently, I think a lot of the indie horror that kind of breaks through is pretty bleak and has a pretty nihilistic point of view. And even my last film, What Keeps You Alive, kind of bordered on having that at times. It didn't really have much of a sense of humor. And this script, it was just in the DNA of it. It made me laugh and a lot reading the first draft that I'd ever read of the script. And I think that kind of underpins the entire experience. So one thing I always say is if you're making a movie with friends, you want to be having fun. It can be a really stressful experience, but at the end of the day, between action and cut, it's play. We're in a sandbox and we're just having fun. So I think that kind of guided the whole process.
Something you're always good at in your movies, like I think about Grave Encounters too. It's like you talk about kind of putting the audience, they're not expecting to be scared when they're laughing. And so if you can kind of like bring them in with that and then throw them,
Totally.
into the horror.
It does make the terrifying moments hit harder because you let your guard down. You get lulled into a false sense of security with the humor, and then suddenly the scares are even worse, which is what we want.
I love when that balance is struck well, but it's not easy to do something like that. So for the three of you with your performances, I am really curious about knowing that you've nailed the tone, being able to, make audiences fear for your characters' lives, but still play into the fun that we're supposed to have.
I don't know. I think audiences might enjoy the fact that my character dies because she's not a very nice person.
I was wondering if I was allowed to say.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad.
It's like I reveal it basically.
It's like people want me to die by the end.
But everyone in this movie is experiencing their own reality too, which is great. Like Chloe's like part of this more nuclear family, and so her world is really inside this family drama that's existing. And yeah, it's weird that what are these coyotes, and that offers a certain level of humor, but like Jules' world is just like coked out Spiral, Hollywood Hills, so it's existing on its own plane.
Yeah, and that's always a balance. It is like you're playing and you're kind of wondering, okay, did I go too far with this?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it's just really committing to who this person is, and we live in LA, so we see people like Jules, and they exist, and I pictured the weird little like cracked out apartment that she lives in Hollywood, where there are conspiracy theories and stuff. So like, just put that person in the situation of being terrified
as
for your
real
life.
about that person as you can. The
I feel
humor
like you
comes
should make
naturally.
a companion short. I would love to see that.
I want to know more about her too.
Yeah.
But it was a really interesting experience because I was only on set for one day and I hadn't seen anything else that they'd done. So I relied really heavily on Colin, and Justin and Kate came to visit set that night. And so relying on all of them to kind of guide me into the tone that they were in, I had a lot of fun, but it was a leap of faith. But when you trust your people, it's easy to do.
Oh yeah.
For sure. I think for me, it was more about finding the balance in comedic relief and, this dark horror movie. And for me, I did that through connecting and how I can relate to Chloe and, we're both rebellious teens, and sometimes we can be a little rude to our parents. And we're both kind of artsy, and I think for me it was about connecting.
And there was a lot of improv for you too.
Yeah,
right?
lots of
Playing
improv from Justin and Kate.
I was hearing about that earlier. Do you know what you're doing when it comes to improv, or was this kind of the first time it was presented and you had to adapt to what they were doing?
I definitely have done a lot of improv in the past, but this was one of the movies where we mostly did improv. Like, it was a lot of bouncing off of each other's
You just respond.
Yeah, just like how I would naturally respond. And I think that's kind of a magical touch in this movie, is it brought it to life with the amount of improv. Yeah.
There's so many things about actors that I am in awe of. I think one of the scariest things in the world to me would be facing a situation where I had to improv. I am planned to a
When you're doing it
T.
opposite someone like Justin Long, he's going to pull good things out of you, you know? And that's one of the, like, if he's in the middle of a scene and he's saying it one way and he doesn't like it, he'll back up and he'll just start saying it on loop and on loop until he nails it. And then it's your job to respond. You know what I mean? And like, he'll throw a curveball here and there, and we'll just let the camera roll and see where the scene can go.
Yeah, it was a very playful set. It was really fun.
I'll follow up on that point with the three of you. Can you tell me something about working with Justin and Kate that, I don't know, maybe helped you find something in your own characters that you might have not been able to reach without them, or just brought the best out of you, and also for you as a director?
I think it's like, I feel like I would say that on her first day with Justin, which I think was like day 3 of the shoot, and it might have been Justin's first or second day shooting too, they have this really intimate scene in a bathroom together. And I don't think Justin was super familiar with Britt's work, but I shot Britt's side first, and she was just on fire. And you could see Justin like wake up and be like, oh fuck, we're going there today. I gotta be good. So it was actually the opposite. I feel like they were challenging each other.
Yeah.
And as a result, when everyone's on that A game, everyone rises to it.
Yeah, and I came in, like the thoughts running through my head in that scene were, don't fuck it up, fucking you got to bring it, because all I could think about was how, like, in particular, his role in Barbarian, it was just like very fresh in me. I'd seen it probably a year and a half earlier, but it was one of the coolest, most memorable performances of the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and great. So it was like just kind of being opposite him. I was like, well, you can't do anything but your best. And having him and Kate together, Kate is just such a supportive, lovely, warm energy. And she was just always there. Like they were always there to support each other, whether or not the other was shooting that day.
Oh, honey, that was such a good take.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a lot of love. And for me and Colin, because we've made a number of movies together as a couple, and so to have another couple on set was
a unique dynamic.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just kind of had, like, there was like a shorthand between a lot of us, and I think that maybe spread around. Yeah,
what was it like being their daughter?
Yeah. I like how you said that we like challenged each other, because I kind of did get that sense too. I think the bonds that we made were like really strong and powerful, and it just kept building off of one another, and we all brought something different to the table, and that was really cool.
I think when a lot of improvisation is happening, that tends to actually form a tighter bond, because you're having to respond in the moment, and Justin will give an idea here and there too, then they're great. So it's like and then you become confident in your own voice to have an idea, and so it becomes this dialogue, and it's my job just to sit back and kind of guide it in the right direction.
Well, it's so true. And I didn't get to work with them directly, but Justin and Kate came to set the night that I was there. Yeah. And Justin was throwing out some actually really amazing, fun ideas, and getting to kind of have that presence on set is just so lovely. Yeah. Having your leads really, really invested in the process, even when they're not directly involved in the scene, is just shows the kind of not only actors they are, but the kind of people that they are, and just they're the loveliest and the best.
I love hearing about stuff like that so much. 2 follow-up questions. I don't want to forget the one that I wanted to pose to you, now that we could talk about the fact that your character dies. The opening set piece in a movie like this is so important, and there's so many others out there that like set the bar real damn high. I know you want this to feel like its own unique thing to this movie, but is there any opening kill scene that, I don't know, weighed most heavily on your mind? Something maybe you were chasing?
I mean, I think the one that everybody goes back to is the Drew Barrymore scene. You know, that's
I'll
the
always
classic.
take a Scream reference.
How the fuck can you like top that?
You
And
can't.
It takes it's like 10 minutes long too.
Exactly.
It's probably shot for like a week.
Yeah.
I had a day to shoot our cold open, so.
But the fun of that is getting to be that person. You really get to take big swings because your character has to, your job is to come in and make a splash and set up the world and then die wonderfully. And thankfully I knew that all of those things would happen with Colin at the wheel. But you know, I did the pressure and the those that have come before were not lost on me. I will
And I
say.
think you got your dialogue literally the morning of, probably too.
I did. I just flown to Bogota and I got my script that morning. So
And
it's like,
the opening had been rewritten a lot because it was like trying to find like Runyon Canyon in Colombia was like really not happening. So we rewrote it at the last possible second.
What's the biggest difference between how that scene looked in draft one and how it looks in the finished film now?
It was solely focused on Kat's character and her little pup, and that wasn't a part of the original script at all. Yeah, it was more like hikers that were just like influencer types or something.
I think you veered in the right direction.
Yeah, cool.
The other question that popped in my brain that I did ask Justin and Kate earlier that I'd love to pose to the two of you now. You obviously know how talented the other is, but I'm curious, can you name a time making Coyotes when you looked at the other and you thought to yourself, like, my God, I knew you were good, but I never realized you were capable of that?
I mean, I think whenever I see Colin behind the camera, I'm just kind of struck by his masterful approach. Like, you know, he's just been doing it his whole life. And, you know, I've worked with a lot of great directors and a lot of them have like strengths and Colin, I feel like just kind of covers everything. Like he comes in with this wild, passionate energy, but he's able to talk to the crew with extreme precision, and in the same way he's able to talk to the actors with like emotional depth, and you know, he just ebbs and flows with the scene, and yeah, it's the visual language is equally as important to him as the characters in the story. And then I mean, yeah, he's just the biggest perfectionist in an admirable and at times annoying way.
but that's what you want from a director.
But she has to live with me.
I gotta live with him, and then he's, you know, we're hanging out while I'm scoring the movie too. So
her scoring the movie is like next level crazy.
Yeah, that was wild. That's a quick little tidbit. We have a 2.5-year-old, and for whatever reason we just are trying to do it without childcare right now, and trying to finish the movie. So Colin would be like editing the movie all day, you know, overseeing a lot of the VFX, and then we'd put our son to bed around 10 p.m. and we'd chug a coffee. One of us would be passing out, the other one would go, "Come on, we gotta go." We'd chug a coffee,
like
go down to the basement studio.
Room.
Yeah, and we'd work for 4 hours on the score, and he'd be doing VFX and bouncing down to me at the studio. It was wild.
It's a true filmmaking family in so many respects.
Months.
Yeah, it was rough.
Paid off.
It was rough. Yeah,
paid off big time.
Yeah.
I gotta let y'all go. But I'm gonna say huge congratulations on Coyotes, and thanks for coming by, sharing some of your experience with us.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having us.